I want to welcome you to the Know Your Rights Best Practices for the Police Department here. And this program tonight is being brought to you by the Lynchburg Police Department, the Lynchburg NAACP, and Lynchburg Parks and Recreation. So my name is Gerald Cheatham, and I'm president of the Lynchburg NAACP. So I want to thank you all for taking the time to come out here and be a part of this program tonight. We're glad you're out here, and we want to make sure that you come out, and this is going to be an informative and educational opportunity for you. So we hope that you leave here getting some information, getting some education, and going out and telling somebody else about it once you leave. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the way the process is going to work tonight is there's going to be a PowerPoint presentation, and then after the presentation in the PowerPoint, the police officers are going to do some scenarios for you to help you understand what they do, and and they understand why you may react the way you do. And then there's going to be an overview of the complaint process, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Now for the Q&A, you've probably been handed an index card and a pen. So if you have a question, we're going to save all the questions until the end. So if you have a question, please write it down so you don't forget it, or if you just want to ask it at the end, you can do it that way as well. So a couple of the housekeeping things: please put your phones on vibrate or cut them off. Restrooms are on the first floor and the second floor, and we're on the second floor here, and they're out and to your right. There's no drinking or eating in the auditorium. However, at the end of this event, we do have some snacks and water out there for you. And then I'm going to have Mickey Ferguson, who is also instrumental in bringing this together. Mickey Ferguson is not only the youth works chairperson of the NAACP, but she's the supervisor at the Diamond Hill Recreation Center, Community Center. And so she's two parts of this, the Lynchburg City and the NAACP. And the other instrumental part of this is the CAT team hero, and that is Sergeant Grader. So I will let Sergeant Grader come up, and he will introduce the remaining members of the team that will bring the program on for you tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
All right.
As Mr. Cheatham said, Sergeant Rader. I've been with the police department for 16 years. I originally am a Yankee. I'm from New York, and moved my family down here in 2001. What can I say? It's been a good run for me. Tonight, I'm excited because we have an opportunity as a police department to reach out to our community and give a great educational piece on traffic stops. And again, like Gerald said, some scenario-based stuff. Our car has 4 chairs. I apologize. You got to kind of use your imagination with that, but we'll get by. It was a little cold tonight. So in just a second, I'm going to introduce some of the officers that I work with. And again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I think when you leave here, we're going to give you some information. There's going to be a desk in the back where you can pick up some informational packets. And it will just explain some of the different things that we do. And at the very end, we'll have it's a complaint process. Although Lynchburg Police Department is 100% a professional agency, great men and women working there, don't forget we are human and we do make mistakes. So we just want to educate you on our complaint process as well. To my right, Officer Lucy, he's a traffic officer for us. In our traffic division. Officer Hughes, he works with me for the CAT team. Officer Rose, up here in the front. Officer Rose is going to be giving a 15-minute PowerPoint presentation today on traffic stops, Miranda rights, and several different things like that. Officer Kaja, he's here somewhere. He's hiding in the back of this. Officer Kaja. And I got a couple crime prevention folks here. Cindy Cosgrove in the back. And Stephen Wood, he's up at the top. Also with us tonight is at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office is Mike Flieger. He's right here in the back. Thank you, Mike, for coming out. And again, I'm going to turn this over to Officer Rose. He's just going to give a quick PowerPoint presentation to everyone. Thank you so much.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, I got a big mouth and I may not stay right at this mic, but I think I've got to talk loud enough that we're going to put it out there. All right, so first of all, I just want to thank you all for coming. It means a lot to me to know that you all care about the communities, care about knowing that you're treated right by the police and want to treat us right as well. And that's what this is all about. We want to teach you our side of things so that you better understand why we do some of the things we do. And maybe that will cause you to act a little differently when you have interactions with us. So once again, just thank you for all coming out. So let's get started if we can. So we're going to start with what should you do if you're pulled over by a police officer for a traffic stop. Maybe we won't. All right. So well, first we got to know what are some reasons that an officer can even pull you over. All right. So to stop a car, an officer needs what we call reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion is basically a standard used in the criminal procedure. It is a little less than probable cause. Reasonable suspicion is sufficient to justify brief stops and investigative detentions, but not able to justify a full search. When determining reasonable suspicion, courts consider the events leading up to a brief stop and decide whether these facts, viewed from the standpoint of an objectively reasonable person, amounts to reasonable suspicion. It's a long answer, okay? But to make it simple for you, reasonable suspicion is basically whatever a reasonable person would say that's reasonable to believe. Does that make sense? So if you look at all the facts that I had before I stopped this car, and you say, well, it's reasonable to believe. So let's give an example. So say your inspection sticker is fading and it kind of looks pink. Well, that looks like a rejection sticker. So would it be reasonable to believe that you've got a rejection sticker and I pull your car over? Well, I pull it over, I get up there and I find out it's not a rejection sticker, it's just fading and looking a little pink, but it's current. I let you go, you go on about your way. So reasonable suspicion is all that an officer really needs to stop a car, okay? So what are some reasons an officer may initiate a traffic stop? Well, there's a ton of reasons. We can't go through them all, but I'm going to give you a few of them, okay? So traffic violations. This could be anything that an officer can legally stop a moving car or a non-moving traffic violation. So examples would be like expired tags, speeding, texting on your phone, some things like that that you could be stopped for. But like I said, it's a ton of different things in that traffic code book that an officer could stop you for. So just be aware of that. Another reason that an officer could possibly pull over a car is maybe what we call a BOL, or be on the lookout for. If an officer receives some information through dispatch that a certain make, model, color vehicle was just involved in a serious crime, well, here we go again. If it's reasonable to believe that your vehicle matches that make, model, color, and it's close by in that area, they may stop you to find out if you are that car fleeing that crime. So that's what we call a BOL, or be on the lookout for. If they see what looks like a wanted person in your car, we all know that a wanted person is just a person that currently has an active warrant for their arrest. So if they, for some reason, they would see what they believe is a wanted person in your vehicle, that gives them enough to stop the car. But remember, all we need is reasonable suspicion. So if he's familiar with the wanted subject and he sees what looks like that person in your car, that gives him enough just to stop the car, find out if that's who it is or not, and then let you go on about your way. And like I already told you, there's a million different reasons that an officer could stop a car, but these are just some of the main reasons, so you know why, okay? All right. As soon as you see police lights behind you, don't get nervous. I know that's what we all do. And the first thing that goes through your mind is, what did I do? Just slow down, okay? Slow the car down. Find a safe place to pull over. Then pull over and put your car in park. All right? Keep in mind, we're going to tell you all that when we get to the car. We're going to tell you. So just focus on what you're doing. And keep in mind, you're out there on the roadside, things are not safe. So take your time, slow down, find you a good place to pull over. Even if you got to go a little ways. If you got to go a little ways, just slow down, put your hazard lights on, That way the officer knows you're not trying to elude and get away. You're just trying to find somewhere to safely walk, okay? And I tell everybody, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you put them hazard lights on and go half a mile up the road and pull into a parking lot, because I'd rather be off the roadside myself, just safe. All right, so when the police approaches, make sure if it's dark outside, if it's nighttime, turn on your interior lights. That just helps us see in the car, and we're going to explain a little later why we're looking in the car and things like that. Turn your music or your radio down so you can hear us. You'd be surprised how many people don't do that. And then, most importantly, just keep your hands visible. Keep them on the steering wheel somewhere that's visible. Why? It's just an officer safety issue, and if somebody tries to hurt you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to use their hands right. So an officer wants to see your hands at all times. This is not working very well. Okay. So, how to interact with a police officer during a traffic stop. All right, this is where we kind of get a little off right here. All right, but I'm going to teach you, okay? Just stay calm. That's the main thing. Try not to argue. You can express your side of the facts, but do it calm. The thing to remember when you're doing this is that you're on the side of the road. It's dangerous. We don't want to be here no longer than we have to be. So we want to get you out of there as quick as possible. So with that in mind, arguing on the side of the road, whether you're innocent or not, it's just not the place to do it. Because you're not safe, the officer's not safe, we want to get you out of there. But that's what court is for. If you truly believe you didn't do whatever the officer's accusing you of doing, bring it to court. And you got every right to fight it as hard as you want to when you get to court. And we want you to, because if we're wrong, we want to be called out on that. But at the same time, we don't want you arguing and getting into that argument on the side of the road. It's just not safe. We want to keep everybody safe. Some key points to remember. If you have been pulled over by the police and they have utilized their lights and or sirens to stop you, you are technically detained and not free to leave until they inform you that you are. So I know you've all seen a lot of police videos out there on YouTube, and the number one thing everybody's always asking is, am I free to leave? Am I free to leave? If an officer cuts those lights on, which they always do at a traffic stop to get you to pull over, you are technically detained. By that meaning, you are just not free to leave until the officer finishes his investigation. Okay? If you are pulled over and approached by police, and they do not utilize their lights and sirens, that's when you should ask, am I free to leave or am I detained? Because if those lights are not activated, then you cannot automatically assume that you're being detained. You have the right to ask at that point. Keep in mind, when you're out there, you've got the right to know these things. All right? And a good officer usually is going to tell you this. They're going to communicate this with you, and you usually don't even have to ask. So, some other things you should know. That you have the right to ask on a traffic stop, which is what I just said. Why did you pull me over? What's the officer's name? What department does he work for? And am I free to leave? These are some things that I just told you. You got the right to ask. You got the right to know that. That's your right. But keep in mind, at Lynchburg Police Department, the officer should be giving you that right off the bat because that's our policy. Almost every officer in the city of Lynchburg that stops you is going to sound something like this. How you doing today, ma'am? My name is Officer Rose from Lynchburg Police Department. The reason I pulled you over is you were speeding. You were doing 51 and a 35. Is there any reason for that? You see, I just covered most of your questions right there. And then if you ask me, am I free to leave? I'm going to tell you, but you should already know now, because you've been educated, that if my lights are on, you're not free to leave until I tell you to do so. And that's another thing that an officer at Lynchburg Police Department is going to do. When they come back, if they write you a ticket or if they tell you, give you a warning and let you go, they're going to tell you at this time you're free to go. I appreciate your time. All right? So, some things that you have the right to say. Like I already told you, you have the right to tell the officer your side of what happened, which is why Lynchburg Police Department is part of our policy. We're going to ask you, is there any reason for that? Why were you doing that? What's going on? That's your right. You have the right to tell your side. But just keep in mind, you want to keep it brief. You're on the roadside. It's not safe. And that's our main thing here. We don't want to keep you stopped on the side of the road for 45 minutes while you tell me how you was going to your grandma's house and trying to get to that cookout. No, just tell me, I made a mistake. Whatever it was. Or I just wasn't paying attention. Whatever it was. Give that quick explanation because that's your right to tell your side. because that helps. And believe it or not, most officers will write down what you tell them. And when we go to court, we testify to, you know, they were compliant, they were nice. They told me they just honestly forgot to get the tags renewed. It was only a month out. And that plays well with the judge. And I've already kind of hit it. Always try to be polite, because this can always influence the officer's decision, whether they're going to write you that ticket or not. And I'm not saying if you're always nice, that's going to mean you never get a ticket, okay? Don't take that to the bank, because that's not what I'm telling you. But what I am saying is, with minor things, that does come into effect, okay? So, and remember, all we're asking you to do is just comply. As long as you comply, we're going to get you off of that roadside as quick as we can, because we don't want to be there. Domestics and traffic stops are the number 2 places where cops get hurt and killed. So we want to try to keep that stop as brief as possible. Okay? So vehicle searches during traffic stops. All right, some things we got to remember. An officer must have probable cause to search a vehicle without your permission. So examples of what probable cause would be, which means is probable cause is a little bit more than reasonable suspicion. Okay, we're getting into some real court stuff here. All right, so, and a good example of that will be an officer smells marijuana in the vehicle, or maybe the officer saw in plain view some observations of illegal drugs or things of that nature. That gives them the right to go ahead and search your car without your permission. Also, if a K9 was to alert to the call. But in most cases, usually, an officer is going to ask for your permission to search the car. Just know that if they ask you, you have the right to say no. Denying them consent to search your car does not mean you're guilty of anything. It just means you're telling me that I can't search your car. So you have that right, but know that if an officer asks, and then he comes back behind and searches your car, he should be explaining to you what his probable cause is for searching your car. Because some officers will ask just to be nice, and then they'll come back and tell you, well, look, honestly, I do have probable cause. But they're going to explain it to you. Just give them a chance to do so. Okay? Already kind of hit that. So, some common questions and myths about traffic stops. Do they all look just like this? All right, so we're looking at this top left picture. Can everybody tell that's kind of 2 officers clearly pointing some rifles at this gentleman? Is this a normal way for police officers to handle a traffic stop? No, it's not. So why would officers need to point a gun at the driver of a vehicle? There's a million different reasons. But more than likely, they already had some information that this guy had some firearm of some type, or maybe he just committed some type of violent crime, and they just want to make sure they're keeping everybody safe so we can't do it again. If you look down here at our bottom right, do you normally see this many officers respond to a traffic stop? I see, what, at least 1, 2, 3, 4 cars there? No. Normally it's going to be 1 or 2 cars. The first car is obviously the primary officer that's stopping you, and then the second car is usually their backup cars. But in some cases, we might need more people. You never know. But normally that's not what it's going to look like. All right, so here's another one. Top left here, why do officers keep their hands on their gun on a routine traffic stop? Well, the first thing you got to look at is that word routine. There is no such thing as a routine traffic stop. As I just told you, traffic stops are one of the most dangerous things that police officers would do. And it's one of the easiest ways to get hurt. And as you see right here, there's been a lot of tags and news captures just like this officer killed on a traffic stop. So now I'm going to show you a quick video to show you how quickly traffic stops can go wrong. So when officers got their hand on their gun, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to shoot you or anything like that. It just means that, like in this picture, you can clearly see, you can't see the gentleman's hands. There could be some other things going on there that made him a little nervous and he wants to make sure he has his weapon in case he needs to draw. But I think this video will truly explain to you how dangerous traffic stops can be. Get it to the left.
Okay. One call stops will be 200 Enter third car. Enter third car.
So as you see, traffic stops can go wrong real bad. Now, I hate to show crazy videos like that and not give you no backstory. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what happened in that video. This was out of Texas, and that was a normal traffic stop. What everyone would say was a normal, routine traffic stop. He was trying to pull this gentleman over for speed. And you see what happened. Very quickly, the officer was not killed, but he was injured from that. He did take a round, I believe it was to the shoulder, don't quote me on that. He was injured, but he was not killed from that. But you can see how very quickly these things can go wrong. And it's a matter of split seconds when things go wrong for us. So let's move on to subject stops now. So for those of you that don't know, police term for subject stops, that's kind of when we're just getting out with somebody on foot. We're going to walk up to them and mosey up to them and talk to them about whatever. So first we got to know about subject stops. There are really two types of subject stops that you can see from an officer. The first is called a consensual encounter. Okay? This is more like casual conversation. This is when you're going to see an officer that just gets out and walks up to somebody and talks to them. I mean, an officer doesn't have to have a reason just to get out and try to talk to you. I mean, at the end of the day, we're citizens just like you are. We want to just try to walk up and talk to you, strike up a conversation. You know, sometimes they'll do that. But just keep in mind that it's a consensual encounter, which you'll know it, when we're just, hey, how you doing? You mind if I talk to you for a couple of seconds? You're not obligated to engage in any type of conversation or stay for that matter. I mean, that's your right to leave, but there's really no need to, because consensual conversation is exactly that. I'm just trying to engage in conversation with you, and it could be about anything. All right, so then the second type of subject stop that you will find is what we call an investigative detention. All right, so now this is where we get a little bit more police related. An officer must have reasonable suspicion, that's that word again, whatever's reasonable for another officer in that same circumstance to believe. So an officer must have reasonable suspicion to conduct this type of stop. During this type of encounter, officers will be asking some direct questions and giving direct commands. So this is more of a stop where you are going to be detained and you're obligated to stay with the officer and you have to obey his commands. Like I said, you're going to tell the difference because they're going to tell you, hey, stop, I need to talk to you, stay there, or whatever. You'll see that a little bit later in these scenarios we're going to do for you to kind of see how that plays out. But in an investigative detention, if you, for some reason, you refuse to stay, an officer can actually place you in cuffs to keep you there because you are detained. All right? All right, so some examples of investigative detention, which is the big one. So this is like you're trespassing in a city park at night. An officer may walk up to you and say, hey, you, stop, I need to talk to you. Because you're committing a crime. We got the right to investigate that and keep you there until we find out who you are, what's going on, why you're in the park at night. Maybe you just match the description of a suspect from a crime that occurred earlier, nearby. Maybe the officer has observed something or received some reliable information that gave them probable cause to believe that you have, you are, or you're about to commit a crime. All right, and you got to keep that in mind because that's very important when you're talking about these things. The officer has to have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe that you have, you are, or you're about to be involved in some type of crime. All right, so some things to remember. You have the right to ask if you're being detained. If some officer gets out with you and is talking to you and you're not sure whether you're detained or not, ask him, am I detained or am I free to leave? You have that right. If you're told that you're being detained, you must comply, okay? Just comply to whatever you're being told. Do what you're being told. It makes things go out easy. Similar to traffic stops, you have the right to express your side of what happened, because obviously if you're being detained, it's because we feel like you've done something, right? Or either you're about to do something, or you've been involved in something. You've got every right to say, that wasn't me. Hold up, brother, you got the wrong guy. That was not me. We want you to tell us that. That's your right to express your side. But once again, not the place to get into a big argument with me on the side of the road or wherever we're at that time, okay? Give the officer time. They'll work through it and figure out it's not you if you honestly didn't do anything wrong. Oh, I missed the video. Let's hit this one real quick. So this video that I'm going to show you, it's really not much explaining to it. I'll just let you know that this was an officer who's going to try to get out on a subject stop, and it obviously, you'll see from the video, it didn't start that way. She was just getting out of the car, happened to see a suspect from a crime, and it becomes an investigative detention. She tells him to stop, and you'll see what happens. So you'll see how these are dangerous as well.
Right there, yeah. Right there, yeah.
Arrived at Core Station.
We don't know who you are. Every officer may not know that you are just a saint in church every Sunday, the prettiest little angel sitting on the front row and never do anything wrong. He doesn't know that. So he's going to treat you just like he would anybody else until he figures that out. Once he figures that out, you may see that interaction start to change in the way he treats you. So, what to do when police come to your house? All right, some reasons police may come to your house is like 911 calls, obviously. Keep in mind with 911 service calls, somebody called us, somebody told us to come. We're not just showing up to knock on your door for no reason. Neighborhood canvases. This is going to be like maybe a crime occurred in your neighborhood and some detectives may just come by knocking on the door. Hey, did you see anything? What's going on? Did you hear anything? Things like that. Search warrants, obviously, if officers have enough proper cause to get a search warrant, they can come and enter your home, but they're going to hit it with a search warrant, what we call a search warrant. Arrest warrants, if it's a felony arrest warrant, they may have the right to enter your home and search for whoever's on that arrest warrant. And then some other reasons could be just an evacuation notice. Maybe a natural disaster has happened or emergency situation. So how do we handle this when police come to our home? You do have the right to just not answer the door when an officer knocks. So I'm just going to be honest with you. That's your right. But if you've done nothing wrong, you may miss out on important information. Because like I said, sometimes we just come to let you know, hey, you need to evacuate. A good example of that is not too long ago, we had a TAC call out. As a CNT member, a negotiations member, my job was to go knock on every door, hey, you might want to get out of your house because we got like 15 million guns pointed at the house next to you. So, you may miss important information. And another thing that could happen is, say an officer knocks at your door and he has a search warrant for your residence and you don't answer the door. Now you're going to cause them to damage your property because that's when they're going to break out the ram and break the door in just to get into your property when you could have just opened the door. That's simple, okay? do not have a search warrant or a felony arrest warrant, you do not have to allow them to come inside your home. But there are some exceptions, okay? So let's hit these exceptions. The biggest one is exigent circumstances that may allow police to enter your home without permission. For example, officers have a reason to believe that someone inside your home has been injured, maybe an assault is going on, they may enter. Several different types of emergency circumstances may offer an officer that right to just enter your home. So a good example of this so that you can kind of get your mind around, say an officer knocks at your door for a service call and you answer the door, hello, no, you can't come in my house, and I can hear somebody fighting in the background, okay? I can hear people yelling and screaming in the background. Well, that gives me the right to go in and check their safety, all right? Another reason that police may enter your home without your permission, it doesn't happen a lot, but it could, is hot pursuit. Hot pursuit means they are directly chasing behind somebody. Some suspect is trying to get away, usually on foot, and we're directly on chasing. Say he runs through your front door because you left it wide open. I can run right in behind him and try to get him to keep you safe, okay? So, police have authority to enter and secure the scene of your home prior to obtaining a search warrant as well, but they must have probable cause to do so. So, to explain this to you, if I came to your front door and I can smell marijuana coming from the house, and you open the door, I've got the right to go in, detain everybody in the house, go clear your house, make sure nobody else is in your house for safety, and then let you know, hey, I'm going to get a search warrant, or either you can tell me it's okay to search. So that's another time that they may be able to enter without your permission, okay? So, see something, say something. Remember, always remember, the emergency number is 911. If you see something going on, please call us. We need you guys to call us. We need you guys. You guys are eyes and ears. You live in your communities. You're there 24/7. We're not. We just work here and go home, so I'm not going to tell you I know more about your community than you do. So call us and let us know what's going on. If it's an emergency, obviously call 911. If it's not an emergency, 847-1602. You'll get to the same dispatch. And then also you've got Citizens First, where you can call in and report things. And then if you really want to, you got the communitycrimemap.com. You can go on there and you can see all the crime that's happening in your neighborhood or anywhere here in the city of Lynchburg that you choose to see. So if you have not heard of that, jot that website down, communitycrimemap.com. And you can also go on there and report anonymous tips as well. And we also have Crime Stoppers, which I think everybody knows about that. All right. So we're going to save all questions to the end. Make sure you got questions, write them down so you don't forget them. And I just want to let you guys know we're going to get ready to do these scenarios for you. In the scenarios, I'm going to be the bad guy to show you what not to do. The reason for that is just simply because if something happens and somebody gets hurt, at least I'm covered by city insurance and not something because I'm getting old when I get hurt quickly. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sergeant Rader, and I appreciate your time.
Officer Lucy now is just going to come up here real quick. He's from our traffic unit. It's actually a specialized unit that he works with a lot of wrecks. And God bless him. I don't like working accidents. It's not my cup of tea. But he's just going to go over a couple of things with you: texting and driving, drinking and driving, and then what to do or not do if you are involved in a wreck. I think that's safety first. So I'm going to give him a few minutes, and he's going to talk about that. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Officer Alex Lucy. Again, like I said, I'm with the Traffic Safety Unit with the LPD. Just to go through a couple of things if you're ever involved in a vehicle accident, just want to kind of go through what you expect from us as officers, not just the traffic unit, but any officer that ends up showing up in an accident that you may be involved in. The first thing that you'll see is that officers should come up and make sure that everybody's okay, make sure everybody is safe, they're not hurt, they're not injured. That way, if we need to, we can get medics there to get you checked out. Even if you're complaining of back pain or your hips hurt, maybe the airbag deployed, and your face is burning all the time from the airbag, All those things, you have every right to ask for a medic to come check you out. If you want to get checked out, we immediately call for the medics to come. That way they can come and make sure that you're okay and that you don't necessarily need to be transported to the hospital for further testing. So always be upfront with us on that. So we show up because honestly we don't know how you feel at that point. We don't know what your body is going through at that point in time. So as honest upfront as you can be with us helps us tremendously. The next thing that we'll look at is the area that the accident is actually involved in. If you can, before we ever show up, take photos of where the cars are positioned at the time, and then if you can, move the cars to a safe location. You can take pictures, you can always show them to us when we show up, and that gives us an idea of where the accident actually occurred and what they were positioned in at the time. It helps us when we're investigating exactly what may have happened. But you'll see a lot of times where we may push cars out of the road over the shoulder. We may get you to a parking lot. We may move you to a totally different location because of the safety factor. One of the hot spots in the city is getting onto 29 South off of Candler's Mountain Road. We have a lot of accidents that happen there. And a lot of times folks will pull right over next to the bridge there, Candler's and the expressway. Well, it's not necessarily a safe location considering everybody's going 60 miles an hour past you. So a lot of times we'll ask you to move. We'll move everybody over to the mall or we'll move to a different location because it's safer, it's easier, it's a lot less stress to go through with you guys especially. I mean, you just were involved in an accident. So the less stress, the better, for not only for us, but for you guys as well. The next thing that you'll probably see is that we'll call in all the tags. So every vehicle that's involved in the accident, we're going to call your tags in over the radio. That's mostly for us to be able to go back later and see what vehicles were involved in case insurance companies call us and ask us, what was the tag on the car, or maybe we need to look something up later on as well. That gives us that documentation of who was involved. So that you may see an officer step away or ask you to hold on, and then we'll call in everything. The next thing is we'll ask you for license, registration, and insurance. So you can always expect that on a traffic accident, or even a vehicle stop. We're going to ask for those three things from you to make sure that you have them with you, which you should always have them with you. But a lot of times now with technology, they'll have it on the phone. So you'll have your insurance, you'll pull it up on your phone and show us. That is perfectly okay. We don't need policy numbers. We don't need who your agent is. We just need to know what company you have as your insurance company. Because that's all that the other driver is going to need from you when it comes to your insurance company. They don't need a policy number. They need to know who the registered owner of the car is, whose policy is going to be under, so that would be the owner, and the company name. So they're not going to need any type of policy number or anything like that. You don't need to give them all your history and information. The next thing we'll probably ask you is, what tow company, if your car is not drivable, if the airbags have been deployed, we're going to ask you what kind of tow company you want. I know at the time, a lot of times it's very stressful. Airbag may just deploy, you're hurt or you're not feeling too well. It's hard to think of those things, but we are going to ask you what tow company and where do you want it towed. So you want to think about that as well. So in the back of your mind, maybe have that written down somewhere in the car. If you want craft collision or you want whoever tows it for them to send you there. So that's something that we're going to ask for you as well. At that point in time, we're probably going to talk to everybody separately on what happened. If there's any witnesses, we're going to talk to them and get their information. I can tell you right now, if it's a minor fender bender, the officer may not charge anybody. But the best thing a person can do is just be honest. If you ran into the back of somebody, the damage is going to show it. One person's going to have damage in the back of their car, and one person's going to have damage in the front of their car. It's not going to be hard to put all that together. So just be upfront and honest about what happened. Because a lot of times, what that might save you from is the officer will be like, okay, hey, you're upfront, you're honest with me, you told me what happened, I can line that up with the evidence, and it may not give you a ticket. But there's always a chance as well that they may end up giving you one. But the best policy is always to be upfront and honest about what happened. At that point in time, you see an officer may take pictures, may take photographs of the collision, depending on how severe it is. I always recommend to drivers that are involved, take your own photos. Because officers may not take photos. And if it's a minor crash, the officer may just make notes on the call. So if that's the case, they may not take photos. Always take photos of your damage, if other cars damage, where they were positioned originally, for your own documentation. Because I can't guarantee you that the insurance companies are going to call us a month later and ask us what happened. They may only get your statement and the other driver's statement, and that's it. So always do your own documentation, even beyond the office. Okay. Hit and runs. Hit and runs. They can be very traumatic, because you just got hit by somebody, and then they get out of the car with you and say, "Don't call the police. Don't call the police. Whatever you do, don't call them." And you look at them and say, "No, I'm going to call them because I need a report from my insurance company." And then they jump back in their car and they start speeding off. The very first thing you need to get is the tag. Get the vehicle tag off of that car. Because most likely, if there's no tag for us to follow up with, it's going to be very difficult for us to find the driver or the vehicle. So get the tag off the car. And then after that, it's going to be every possible detail that you can get. What make of the car is it? Model of the car. Are there dents, stickers on the car? There may be stickers on the back of the vehicle that identify it beyond other cars. Also the driver, who they were. Did they have a mustache? That stuff helps. What their hair was, what color hair they had. Anything, dress. Be as detailed as you can about what happened. Just remember that if you hop back in the car and start chasing them, doesn't give you the right to start breaking more laws in order to track them down and stay with them. And then that also puts you at safety risk along with everybody else. It puts other vehicles, other drivers, and always remember, that other car beside you might have little kids in it, so you always want to be extremely careful with that. For you young drivers in here, when it comes to making good decisions, as Officer Rader talked about when it comes to drinking and driving, very first time you get charged with DUI. First of all, you think about all the things that you've got to go through, sobriety tests, and they're all out in public. We don't take you somewhere secluded. We're right out in front of the police vehicle so we can videotape everything. We're going to put you out in front of everybody, make you do all these tests. And then after that, we take you down to the magistrate. You have to go in front of them. Then you have to do a breath test, or you do a blood sample, and in order to determine how much alcohol you have in you. And that doesn't end there. End up going to court, and you can end up seeing up to $10,000 that you have to spend on something like that. So drinking and driving is never worth it. It is a lot cheaper to call Uber or a friend or a parent. I would much more take a tongue lashing at home than to try to drive home intoxicated. So that one of the things we wanted to cover there. But hopefully I've covered everything when it comes to accidents and hit and runs. And I thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Ready? Back again. All right. So we're going to go into our scenarios. Everybody that's up here, their weapon is a training weapon. It's been, the firing pin is taken out, so it cannot fire anything. Even if there was a live round in it, it cannot fire. The taser is the same thing. It's got a training cartridge on it. They're a totally different color. That's been checked. And even the pepper spray, that's not real. So, we're not going to fog up the place with pepper spray or anything. Again, these scenarios, it's an educational opportunity for everybody to just see how and why we do traffic stops. As Officer Rose talked about earlier tonight, it's a huge safety risk for us. There's a lot of deaths each year in this country from specifically traffic stops. So that's why we wanted to go over a few of these scenarios tonight. All right, first scenario obviously is a traffic stop, and we got to put our make-believe hats on, our cars, 4 chairs. So Officer Rose will be positioned where, you know, in the alleged vehicle, in the front chair.
You're talking to last man.
I guess Jamal's going to do it, not Officer Rose. All right. Okay.
You want to pretend it's something else?
Sure. So this is his police vehicle. Officer Hughes just observed a vehicle pass with an expired inspection sticker. So now he's going to initiate his traffic stop. After he goes through the entire scenario, it's going to kind of seem fast and there's going to be some talking. After he goes through that scenario, I'm going to walk you through very quickly of the events that took place, why he walked a certain way, how his vehicle will be positioned for safety issues, and so on and so forth. So go ahead, officer.
Oh, sir. Officer Hughes, Westboro Police Department. Stopped you there because the inspection expired. Do you think there's any reason for that?
I just forgot to take care of it.
Suspicion?
Yeah, very busy. We work all the time.
You got your ID on you, sir?
Yes, sir. I do.
I'll be honest with you, 4 months into an assessment for inspection, so I don't write you a ticket, so just stay in the vehicle and you set by you back in a second. Okay? All right. Just visualize and write the ticket back there. Mr. Payne?
Yes, sir.
Here's your license plate.
Thank you.
Okay, here you summons for this on the code for fire inspection, okay? I need you to sign the exterior sign of mission slip the same understand what you've been charged with, which is agree to appear in court on the above date and time right here, okay? If you wish to prepay the payment, just call this number and follow this one, okay? Now, I will tell you, it's up to you, Judge, what happens in court, if you go ahead and get that taken care of before your court date, bring that paperwork with you, sometimes they'll work with you, okay? All right, just sign here, for those of you who drive safe, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Real quickly, I'll just go over again exactly why we do stuff on a traffic stop. Obviously, the chair of the vehicle is positioned a certain way. If you've ever seen us pull you over, we're going to have our vehicle turned at an angle. That's because the engine block will protect us if there's ever a shootout, or as you saw earlier tonight. If the guy is going to lay rounds back to the vehicle, which it has happened, the entire engine block protects that car. So normally a round won't go through the engine block. It will go through sheet metal, however. So if you ever wondered why we position the vehicle that way, that's one of the reasons. The other reason why we position that vehicle that way is if you've ever seen, again, the YouTube videos or cops, you've seen the state troopers or highway police, again, they're going to position the vehicle the same way because semi-drivers or even vehicles that are driver intention, they've actually rammed the back of police cars. If you're up there on that traffic stop talking like Officer Lee was right here, and our vehicle is positioned directly behind the vehicle that's pulled over and another vehicle hits that car, there's a high possibility it's going to kill the officer because it's going to ram right into him. If the wheels are turned and the vehicle is positioned sideways, it's going to move this way, and the officer, most likely, it'll save his life. So that's the 2 biggest reasons why you're going to see the car positioned that way, and it also saves this car from getting hit, believe it or not. When Officer Hughes walks up to the car, he's going to put his thumb print and push down on the back trunk. Believe it or not, people have been known to lie in wait in a trunk of a car with the trunk not locked and can pop out and harm the officer. So when you see us walk through, you'll see us stop and put our thumbprint and press down on the car. As he approaches the vehicle, the light is going to be shining just like this. As a supervisor at the police department, I tell you, it's one of the biggest complaints I get with drivers in the vehicle stop is they'll call into the office and say, this officer pulled me over, he was so rude. he's just shining a light all over in the vehicle like I did something, and I feel like it's harassment, and I felt like a criminal. No, I can understand that. Again, it's an opportunity for us to explain. We're looking in that vehicle absolutely for weapons, drugs, or anything that's going to hurt us. Knives, people conceal weapons all the time in a car. So that's why he's going to be shining a light in there, seeing what's going on inside that vehicle. That's for his protection. As he walks up to the front of the vehicle, obviously his light's going to be where it needs to be. If you're a driver and a passenger of the vehicle, it is imperative. I tell my son, he's 21 years old, if he ever gets pulled over by the police, put your hands on the steering wheel. I'll tell you, it's so calming to me when I walk up to a vehicle and do a vehicle stop, and I can see those hands. They're right here. They're not down here reaching. They're not going over to the glove box. Just relax. If it's a hot summer day, I've been pulled over, I hate to say it, by a couple of cops, and my hands are out the window, literally, so they can see. I want them to see that I'm not a threat to them. So, driver and passenger. Passenger, same thing. Most of the time on our stops in Lynchburg at nighttime, we have a backup officer. Automatically a backup officer is dispatched because at night, bad things happen. So the other officer is going to be positioned on the other side of the car, and his job is to watch that passenger. If that passenger starts shoving his hand in his pockets, that's not a good thing because there's no reason for it. So please, if you take anything away from this scenario, just let us see your hands. That's all we want to know. If we can see your hands, they're not weapons, or they don't have a weapon in them. Anything else? Real quickly, when he walks back, everybody saw that he walks backwards, right? The worst thing you can do as a cop is get the information, turn your back on the driver, and walk back like this. It's going to get you shot and killed. So if the officer's doing what he's supposed to be doing, he looks this way, make sure the traffic's not coming, and you'll see him start to walk backwards. Sometimes I walk like this, and I catch a peek at the driver. I want to still know what that driver's doing. All right, we ready for the next scenario? All right. Once again, Officer Hughes just observed a vehicle pass with expired inspection. Officer's going to initiate a traffic stop. This will be a little bit different as we move forward. Go ahead.
What?
I'm on Susan Lynchburg, please.
All right, well, let me get out and talk to you.
Stay in the car. Stay in the car.
Okay, what do you want?
Stopped you for expired inspection, expired in June.
Come on, man. Really? Really? You stopping me for that?
Yes.
Okay, what do you need? What do you need?
Your license and registration.
All right.
Oh, don't reach under the seat.
What?
Don't reach
I'm
under the
just
seat.
getting my license. You asked
Keep
for
your
my
license
license.
on the seat.
All right, it's right here, man. Let me just look.
All right.
One hand, give it. Got it, give it.
Thank you, sir. Is this your vehicle?
Yeah, it's my mom, man. It's mine.
Shut your car. I'll be right back with you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Got my summons again. Mr. Ruggles,
Yes, sir.
I got your summons here for expired inspection, okay? You need to be signed by the ex-state assigned admission of guilt, saying you understand what you've been charged with.
Can I get my ID back?
After you sign something.
I'm not signing that, but I need my ID back.
Sir, you're required by law to sign a summons.
I'm not
If you
signing.
don't sign it, you're going to have to go to jail. You understand that?
For what? All my tags expired.
You
You
have
gonna
to-
take me to jail for
You
that?
have to appear in court. If you don't sign promises to appear, you go to jail.
Look, I ain't signing. You
Step out of the
jail.
car. Step out of the car.
Okay, so great rule of thumb to remember on a traffic stop. Not all the time, if you're nice and respectful to us, are you going to get out of a ticket. But I can surely tell you that if you are acting like that, there's probably a good chance you're going to get a ticket. However, you can see the spidey senses, I call them, after 16 years of doing this job and seeing a lot of different stuff in the city go on. You can just tell that it's starting to escalate, and you're thinking, okay, my backup's coming, what the heck's going on, something's not right with this guy, why is he upset? It's just not a good thing. It puts us in a bad position. I can tell you, I have, oh my goodness, I got 4 kids, I got half a litter of kids at home. I just want to go home. That's all I want to do. I have a job to do, my pants get put on just like everybody else is in this room. All I want to do is go home. So we gave you this scenario just to show you, because, again, just like the PowerPoint that Mr. Rose was talking about, you'll have your chance in court. You can go to court, and you can tell the judge it was unfair, or whatever, but it's not the correct place to do it on the street. It puts us in a bad position. Vehicles are going by. It's dark outside. You know, it can distract us from other stuff that's going on around us, and so it just heightens our senses. And we, again, I can't tell you how much we just want to go home at night and do our job. Our third scenario, you ready?
Moving around.
All right. Real quickly, while they're doing that, I just want to touch on one thing real fast. If you notice, he tried to get out of his vehicle. In different states, believe it or not, that I've been to training in several different states. I actually was a police officer in New York State for about 1.5 years. Again, that's where I was from. They're actually taught to get out of the vehicles. And some states still use that. It's almost like it's professional to do that. Here in Virginia, please do not get out of your vehicle. That's not what we want. We want you to stay in your vehicle. We want you safe in the vehicle. Again, vehicles are passing by, speeders, the texting now, you can get hit. And that's why we gave the video of the officer. He told that guy to get back in the vehicle. And then when he reapproached, the guy jumps out of the vehicle and there's a bunch of shots fired. It's dangerous for you, and then again, it will start to heighten our senses of, hey, get back in the car. Why is this guy trying to get out of the car? What's in that car? That's how we think. We want to go home. You ready? Officer Rose talked about consensual encounters. We're a citizen just like you. There's nothing against the law that I can't go up and just say, hey, I'm Sergeant Rader of the Lynchburg Police Department. What's going on in your neighborhood? You got a minute? Can I talk to you? We can do that. And in this scenario, we're just going to give a quick example of that. Officers have had numerous complaints of people tampering with vehicles in the area. Officers see a male standing on the sidewalk in an area and decide to get out with him and talk to him.
Mr. Ray, how you doing today?
How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Austin, you live over in this area?
I'm a college student, just kind of hanging out in downtown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've had a lot of problems over recently, a lot of vehicle break-ins and stuff like that. You business somebody? You just
Yeah, just walking.
Oh, okay. Hey, you got your ID on you real quick?
I do. What do you need to see for?
Like I said, you got anything wrong, I'm not saying that. We just had a lot of problems over here. I'd like to know who I'm talking to. Maybe you can help me out.
Okay, yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. All right. Hey, I appreciate your help and your cooperation. Have a good day. Okay?
You too.
Thanks, Mark.
It's as simple as that. Over my career, I've done that several times. Just get out with somebody and ask how they're doing. It can switch very quickly to not a consensual encounter. But however, again, we're just talking to you. We just want to know what's going on in the neighborhood. It's not against the law to do that. Our next encounter is a consensual encounter, but it's going to go a little differently. Officers have had numerous complaints of people, again, tampering in vehicles in the area. Officer sees a male standing on the sidewalk in the area and decide to get up with him and talk to him. Same scenario, just a different outcome.
Yes, sir. How are you doing today? You want to talk?
I'm talking to the popo.
Okay, man, you have a great day, partner.
I've had that happen a lot to me. It's not against the law. I just want everybody to know that if you didn't do anything wrong, you can walk away and you just saw what happens. Just have a good day. We get back in the vehicle and leave. Again, some of that can quickly change. And that's all on the guy we're talking. Just because we get out and we want to talk to somebody and we don't have a reason, hey, how you doing? Again, it can change very quickly. He's shoving hands in his pockets, takes off running. You don't want to do that. The Supreme Court rules, it's years ago, I don't know, it's been a while, but running is, we can give chase to that. We don't want you to do that. If you don't want to talk to us, you don't want to talk to us, and you have that right, you can walk away. All right, next one is a felony detention. All right. Officer C Black male wearing glasses that is approximately 5'9" and 200 pounds, appears to be in his later 20s, and he looks like a known wanted subject. Leroy Brown. Brown is a black male, 5'10", 205 pounds, is 28 years old, wearing glasses. Brown is currently wanted for felony charges. Officers will attempt to get out with the subject and find out if he is Leroy Brown. So, again, officers, we have a warrant officer at the PD. We have several warrants on file at the police department. Officers will go through them in roll call. They're going to get out with this gentleman. They think that he's wanted, fits the description of the suspect.
Hey, your team, good things on the next one?
Mind if I ask why?
Yeah, you look like Leroy Brown, he's one, okay? Someone called and said you're in the area, so we just gotta make sure you're not in a good idea.
Yes, I do. It's in my left pocket. Yes, sir.
That's your idea. Sorry, Mr. Payne, I didn't realize that, somebody called and said you were Mr. Brown. I'm sorry about that. You look a lot like him. Now look at your handcuffs off you, okay? Again, I'm sorry to waste your time. I'm sorry to put you out like that. I appreciate your cooperation, okay? Thank you, Mr. Payne.
There's a lot of different kind of things that come in this scenario. It is unfortunate, but yes, we do get phone calls all the time. And if you have information, we're going to run it over the radio. Hey, is so-and-so wanted? Yep, he's wanted. We have to confirm that. If that paper is confirmed, and yes, there's a warrant on file, and yes, he fits the description, we're not going to go up and just hang out and wait for the, ask for his ID. We're going to detain him. That's a safety issue. He has a warrant. All right, so he's going to get handcuffed. He's not going to get, searched. We can conduct a pat down. It's called a Terry frisk, Terry v. Ohio, for weapons. But until that warrant is confirmed, they're not going to go into his pockets. If that warrant's not confirmed, then the courts have deemed it's a reasonable time period. The warrant can be out of Amherst County. So Amherst County has a reasonable time to call back to Lynchburg and say, yeah, it's him, he's wanted. Obviously, he'll go to jail. If it's not him, he runs his ID, it's not him. He's going to be, the cuffs are going to be taken off, and he's free to go. He's not arrested. He was detained. There is a difference. Good? Okay, just for a minute, I want to stress the first scenario was a detention. Guy was very polite, asked why, the officer polite back. He runs him, he's free to go, he's gone. He might be a little embarrassed. If there's people watching, I get that. That's not a good thing, but unfortunately it happens. He's free to go, good to go. This next scenario is the same thing, but it's going to, again, same sort of scenario, but it's going to go a little bit differently this time.
Yes, sir, your team, put your hands behind you.
Get up off me, man! Get up, get on the ground! What? Get up off me, man! I was just on my phone.
Stop.
What am I under arrest for? I ain't do nothing, man.
You're under arrest.
I didn't do anything.
You're not even the right guy, Mr. Rose. Why are you up there acting like this?
Because you all up on me, man. Why you all up on me? I just want to go home.
You assaulted me.
Man, you gotta take me to jail for this.
Yes.
Man, this is a fool.
First scenario, guy goes home. Period. Second scenario, unfortunately, we run into this. It fits the description, it's got a warrant, guy fights, now it's assault and battery on police, and then he resists arrest, taser deployment, and now instead of going home, the guy didn't even do anything. He fit the description, he had a warrant, but it wasn't him. He's not going to go home. He has to go downtown, and he'll have a misdemeanor and a felony arrest charge on him. Ready? That was the end of it. Wow, that went quick. Excellent. Good job. In just a second, we're just going to have a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to go over the complaint process with everyone. Pastor Can Pastor Cam will come up and kind of explain that with me, and Gerald Cheatham will also be up here, just because they've been working hand in hand with the police department. Touching base real quick back with these scenarios, I just want to stress something really quickly. I'm in 16 years of doing this job and working with men and women in Lewisburg. I'm going to tell you, outstanding. It's an outstanding police department. It's great when men and women work with me. However, I'm not going to blow smoke and mirrors to anybody here. We do make mistakes. It's out there. You see them. We're human. We fail. We make mistakes. And I just wanted to throw that out there that our scenarios tonight aren't to say, hey, every single time this is how it's done, this is how we do it. There is issues. There's sometimes that we don't do it the right way. Okay? And that's when we have to make that right. And the community has to hold their police department accountable. And that's why I want to go over this complaint process here after the break. To let you know that when we do get it wrong, and yes, we do get it wrong, there's a way to voice your opinion of that and put it down on paper. And I'm going to tell you the reason why that's so critical and important is we have to hold our officers accountable. And I hear too many times, well, I just don't want to take the time to go down and file a complaint. I just don't want to take the time to put it in writing. I don't have a ride down to the police department. Ladies and gentlemen, when you do that, if that officer made a mistake and it goes unheard and a supervisor like myself is not going to discipline him or hold him accountable, who's next? They can do it to somebody else. So it is your civic duty as a community member in this city, if you feel that you were wrong or something happened that was not right by us, you have to voice that opinion and come down and file a complaint. Take a quick break if anybody needs to use the bathroom, and then we'll go over the complaint process very quickly. Good? All right. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not really talking to the microphone. But we have a couple pieces of paper we handed out. One's a yellow piece of paper, and then one is just some notes that has important numbers on that. As I said before, I just want to go over our complaint process very, very quickly. We are an accredited agency nationally, and because of our accreditation, we have to take complaints. It's our policy. We have to take them. Sometimes, if somebody calls in and says, well, you know, I don't think a report should have been filed, or like one time I had a guy got in a wreck, and he's like, well, I want a police report filed. And that's not our policy, so he wanted to complain. Well, that's not a complaint. That's our policy, you know, in our procedure. That's different from maybe an officer being rude or, you know, which is a demeanor complaint. I'm going to get into that here in just a second. Because that's during the performance of their duties, and what our policy is, again, with the traffic wreck or reporting crimes or violations. First, what we have is a demeanor complaint. That's a very simple complaint. You get pulled over by an officer, the officer's rude. As a supervisor, I'm going to ask you, what's rude? I'm sorry, you know, what's rude? Well, he just seemed rude. That's not good enough. I want to know what rude means. Does rude mean that he cussed you? Does rude mean that he was very loud and you know, got in your face and screamed at you? I need specific on what rude is. Rude is too general, and as a supervisor, I'm going to say you have to explain better than that. I have to know what rude is. What did he say? What did he do? What were his actions? Demeanor complaint is just very simple, a very simple complaint. He was rude. He said I was a jerk. When he gave the license back to me, he flicked it at me. That's a demeanor complaint. That's a low-level complaint that's investigated by a sergeant or possibly a lieutenant. An allegation of misconduct, that's a whole different kind of thing. That's corruption, excessive force, civil rights violation, violation of criminal law, or serious breach of our policy. Okay? In that investigation, there's several different ways you can file a complaint in the Lynchburg Police Department. Okay? Number one would say you get pulled over, and the officer, you know, he swore, he cussed you, and then threw the license back at you. So, You can call into Lincom, that's on your notes in there, that's our dispatch center. Don't call 911. I know it's an emergency to you, but it's really not, it's a complaint. Call into the non-emergency number, let them know who you are, let them know who the officer is. If you feel you were wronged by a police officer, or he was rude, or he was unprofessional, you have to get the information. Officer Rhodes talked about it. Badge number and name, and even rank if you want. But we have to give that to you. Now, he may not give it to you if we're interacting, like full on, like he's trying to do his duties. But after everything settles, the dust is settled, he has to give you those three things. If he doesn't, he can be disciplined by a supervisor. Once you get that information, which is imperative, because if you don't know who was not nice to you, how are you going to file a complaint? You can't say, well, some white guy that was 6'2" and 185 pounds wearing a gun. No, don't cut it. There's a lot, there's several officers down there, almost 200, so that's not going to cut it. You got to know the name and the badge number. You can call into the dispatch center. If you don't want to do that, you can actually physically come down to the police department at the complaint desk and request a supervisor. You don't want to talk to that officer again if you already had a run-in with him. That's going to cause a lot of problems. Ask for a supervisor. Again, it'll be a sergeant. They run the platoons. There may be a lieutenant there, depending on the day of the week or the time. But you need to ask for his sergeant. And that sergeant's going to take you physically into the police department, if you're okay with that. Sit down, and what we want you to do is write a statement. We want to put it in writing. And what you need to understand is, I'm not making any accusation here, but that's an official police document. So you don't want to lie on an official police document. But we want you to fill out the complaint. It's a form. It's called an allegation of misconduct or a demeanor complaint. I believe both now are done in the same form. And give us your side of the story. Date, time, what happened, why the officer you felt was rude or unprofessional, what he said exactly. And then if you sign that form, we're going to give you a copy. If you don't sign it, we're not going to give you a copy. If you sign it, we give you a physical, make it a Xerox. I call it Xerox because I'm old, but the copy machine and give you a copy of that allegation form. The third way you can do it, again, it's on your paper handouts, is our IA. I call it internal affairs. We call it professional standards. Glass is half full, half empty. It's IA to me. And we actually have two sergeants and a lieutenant that do nothing but investigate the complaints. They're our internal affairs. They're who hold the officers accountable. They're who looks at your body cameras and the in-car cameras. And one of those three individuals who are all supervisors, most likely, unless they're overly swamped, are going to investigate your complaint. They have a phone number, it's on your handouts, and they have an email. You can email a complaint to the Lynchburg Police Department. And here's what's the other thing you can do. It sounds crazy, but we've had it done before, is it can be anonymous. Maybe something happened and Officer Joe has been bad, not nice and rude, unprofessional, whatever, and it's not been just you. You go to work, and you find out that some of your friends have had run-ins with this guy too. And so you can anonymously email to that email. You don't have to put your name on and tell your side of the story of what happened. And guess what? We're going to investigate it fully. Same thing with the phone. You can call in anonymously and say, I don't want to give my name, but this officer at this date and this time, I think he stole my pocketbook when he was investigating a domestic. And that is absolutely going to generate an allegation of misconduct, and we're going to investigate it. The chief of police is the last stop on all allegations. He's going to go over it. He's going to make sure it's correct, or everything's in there. Sometimes, actually, I've worked complaints because I'm a supervisor. He's kicked it back and said, "Hey, you need to go interview so and so." Again, I don't, I think there's just more to it. I want you to interview him. So the buck stops at the chief. He reviews all our complaints, and then if they're satisfied, or he's satisfied with it, then it stops at his office. We just changed our policy within 6 or 8 months. In the 16 years I've been here, yes, I've had people complain on me, and I got investigated, and then I would get a letter from the police department, and then let's say it was sustained. That means yes, the complaint is sustained, I was wrong. I shouldn't have threw the license at the driver in the vehicle. If that happens, in the old days, we didn't let anybody know what happened or what was going on. And so the chief changed that, and now you'll get a letter in the mail saying, hey, your complaint was sustained, or the complaint was exonerated, which means the officer did do that, but he followed our policies. So you're going to know the outcome of the investigation. I think that's pretty good. I like that change. As a community, you need to, if you're filing a complaint, you need to know what's going on and if it was sustained or not. The discipline, that's in a personnel file, that can't be given out. So when you get your letter, you're going to know if it was sustained or non-sustained, but you're not going to know what discipline came out of that because that's a personnel matter and that's going to go in a thick personnel file and locked away. Now the courts do have access to that, but attorneys have to get involved and subpoena that, through the courts. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to get into all that. Again, I'll just hit on the time period. It's 90 days. There can be an extension to that. It's got to be a captain or above that can extend that 90 days. Those officers have a job to do, and it just doesn't stop. So they're working several other cases. If for some reason you don't get a letter, or for some reason something gets lost in the shuffle, please call the number, professional standards. There's 2 sergeants and a lieutenant there, and ask them what's going on. And they're going to let you know. And they will email you if you have an email address on that, of what's going on with your complaint. Okay. Where's Gerald? There he is. Very quickly. This is Pastor Cam, and obviously you know Gerald. Pastor Cam and I work very closely together. One community, one voice. If you haven't heard that, monthly we meet at his church. We had an incident I just want to go over. It was a few years back with a couple officers that went to a house, and long story short, it was a domestic. There was some marijuana coming out, smell, and there was assault and battery, all kind of stuff going on, and a gentleman resisted arrest, didn't want to get handcuffed, and of course some video came out, and he was made aware of it, and gave me a call and said, hey, this is not good. This doesn't look very good at all. The video I saw on Facebook, great day in the morning, we got to do something about this. So the chief, again, he came from a bigger police department, and he gives me a call and he says, hey, Jeff, can you get the pastors group together? Can you get the community group together? Can you get them all together, let them know that we're going to talk about this. We're going to be transparent. We're no longer in the old days where we're going to tell everybody, hey, we're investigating it. Sorry, call us in a month. That can grow legs. People will say it's this, and if the police don't say, well, wait a minute, that's not what happened immediately, it can grow legs, and then that's the fact, even though it's not. So the chief, he came, he brought everybody in, sat them down in the West Building before the media was even involved. They were the first to know, and said, here's the video, the whole video, and here's what happened. And Pastor Cam's going to talk about that in a minute, but it squashed it. It was getting traction, but it squashed it immediately. And although I'm not, got to be careful because I work for LPD, but we're getting better, but we're still a little bit behind on times on getting information out to the community. We are working on it, but we have to be faster. All of you guys know the media, I love the media. But if they're getting it out and then we're not commenting on it, then that doesn't look very well, does it? That kind of says, police are hiding something. And that can really bring discord and untrust in our communities. And we really want to work on that. So, having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Cam. He's going to give a little insight on our transparency and what we've been doing and working together on trying to build bridges and build trust in our community. Pastor Cam.
Thank you. Absolutely, he's kind of hit the nail right on the head. I'm initially a young son from Lynchburg, returning back after about 30 years of being away. And I found by me opening the church that there was a lot of distrust. lot of distrust in the community with the police department to where they felt that they weren't getting the foul shake and they felt things weren't going so well. And so this is where a lot of this is coming from, because the community needs to be aware. And so this incident he speaks of really did take a look real bad. And I guarantee most of you have seen it on Facebook. It happened here in Lynchburg, dealing with some of our police officers. And it seemed that if they really did physical abuse against this person, and immediately began to get, I was shared to me with 20 shares by 7 o'clock in the morning, saying, "What's going on, Pastor Cam?" And it did look to be bad, but when you take something and make it short and make it look like what you can edit anything these days. And it did look like the policeman was doing abuse, but after I called Sergeant Rader, and Sergeant Rader, I'm getting a lot of concerns, concerns from people from this. And sure enough, he said, "Well, I'll tell you what, let me call the chief." Chief said, "Bring them down." We have a way of calling all the pastors. And we filled their conference room with all the pastors in the inner city. We came down and they showed us the total video. And we had the opportunity to listen to it step by step, to see exactly what went on, exactly how it occurred, exactly why the officer did exactly what they did. And not one pastor in there felt, even though we had seen this thing on Facebook, then after seeing it realized that they did exactly what was okay with what they did. And several incidences that occurred. And that's talks about transparency. And that's why I asked the police department, when we start working together, let's be transparent. Whether good or bad, we need to be transparent and fair to all. And that's what's been occurring over the last, we've been working together about 2 years now. And it's been real effective. I can go into the police department and ask them anything, they can't give me information under investigation. But if there's a concern, and there's been several, that where citizens felt unfairly treated, I've helped them walk through the process, even saying, this is what you do. Let's just don't talk about it, file a complaint, file it through the grievance process. Let's see what happens. And so it's getting a lot more comfort in the community. They work a lot with us. They're partnering with us to show the community we don't just protect, but we also serve. It's doing well in the community. And so we've established a one community, one voice, and that seems to be getting a lot of traction. Okay? All right.
Okay, just as Pastor Cam said, the key word is transparency, and we want to continue to push toward that with the NAACP. We work with the community as well. I've had instances where people will typically contact the NAACP if they feel like their civil rights have been violated in whatever manner. They think their civil rights have been violated. And part of that process is helping them. Instead of contacting the police, they may contact the NAACP. So it may be walking them through that process as well, the complaint process, helping them go down and review the tape that may be the body cam. Sometimes people are intimidated by all of that process. Part of that process may be helping them feel more comfortable in being there as a source of comfort to do that. But then also helping them understand how things took place as well. It's not always what you perceive or what the police perceive, but you have to go step by step to do the processes. And what we'll hear often is sometimes people will wait too late to contact the NAACP. They'll wait till they've already been through whatever has happened, went to court, got sentenced, and now are in jail. And now they contact the NAACP and want the NAACP to figure out what to do. It makes it very difficult at that point once you've already been sentenced based on what happened. And then we have instances where there was an incident here at a restaurant, and a person contacted the NAACP office and gave a story about what happened at this restaurant, and it was apparently an assault charge and everything. And so I said, okay, I took down all the information, and then I asked the chief that I review the tape. And I went down and reviewed the tape, and then I contacted the person and said, well, I want you to come down and review the tape. Because the tape and what she told me were 360 degrees different, almost. That went nowhere. I actually went to the court on the day of the trial to see, and there were charges, but it was not police. So sometimes, you know, things do happen like that. And so you help people. All of us are here to try to help people. We don't want to see anybody hurt. We don't want to see anyone killed. We want the police to get home at night. We want people and citizens to get home at night. And we want justice when there is something done wrong. And I think we have a great police chief here that believes in that transparency. We're working together as partners, and we want to continue to work together as partners to make sure that we protect the community and help the community understand that the police are here to help us and not to hurt us. And we are here to try to help each other. And it's just like this, hopefully this exercise tonight was something that was very informative and educational. So what we're going to do at this point is I'm going to have Sergeant Rady, he's going to touch on body cameras just real briefly, and then we're going to come back and have a Q&A session before we conclude.
All right, we're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to just go over it real quick. The body cameras, I know it's a hot topic across the nation. We have 100% of the officers in Lynchburg have body cameras now. Mine is here. Some of the other officers put them here in the center. It doesn't matter where up front it goes. This is magnetic. It's a very strong magnet, but if somebody come up to me and grab the body camera, it is going to come on. There's different, I think like 3 different ways you can mount it, but this one I kind of like better than the other 2. My body camera's off right now. So we have a station, it's called a station, a charging station at the PD, which I have to leave my body camera there every single night when I'm off shift, so it downloads everything to the main server, and then it charges. So when I get my body camera, put it on, and in the police department, it's got to be off, that's our policy. And when I walk outside, there's a nice big sign, the chief with turn body camera on. It's kind of like the, I was going to say get past the can go in the Army, but not really. So I'm just going to flip this switch, and you're going to hear. All right, so now it's on, but it's not recorded. Every 30 seconds, it's going to record over itself because there's a delay. So what that means is if I go over and I get into a struggle, and I'm like, oh man, I got click, click, and I'll show you how that goes in a second, how it turns on. It's going to go back 30 seconds. So it's going to give you 30 seconds before you turn it on, which is great because maybe something happened and it catches it of why the officer did what he did or what the gentleman did or whatever. It's not your eyes. I know everybody thinks that a body camera is going to solve all the problems, right? It's going to be heaven and joy, and the police are never going to do bad things again. No, it doesn't happen that way. It is an accountability tool. I personally love it that I have a body camera. I don't, deviate from my policy. I try to treat everyone with respect. So to me, this is a great tool for me to back up. If somebody makes an allegation against me and says, well, that cop did that. No, I got it on body camera. Our policy states that when I get out with you, if it's not an emergency or an officer safety, I need to let you know, hey, I got a body camera, I'm recording you right now. We need to tell the public that. There are certain, times we're not going to record. I don't need to go into all that. So if I'm walking, it's not recording. I want to make sure everybody understands that when I'm in the car. It's not 24 hours recording. They only have about 10 hours of shelf life on the battery. So if I'm out and I'm going to come up to Officer Lucy and I'm going to get out with him because I was on a call. Before I get out, I'm going to double tap this round area right here twice. Hear it beep again? It's recording now. Everything's recording. It's recording what I'm saying. And it's a camera. So if I'm turned this way and a threat's coming, what's my body camera getting at? Not going to help me, is it? So that's why they're not 100%. Nothing really is. But it's a really good tool, and most of the time it's going to capture things. And already it's helped our department out with different things. I mean, Gerald just gave an example, so the pastor can with the body camera. When I want to turn it off, I'm just going to hold the button. It beeps. Now it's off. what I'm going to do real quickly, I'm going to pass it around. Please don't drop it. And just take a look at it. You're more than welcome to just take a look at it, get the feel of, what it is, what it weighs, its camera. The company that makes it's the same as our tasers. Taser makes that body cam. Thank you.
While the body cam is going around, I'd like to entertain questions. Anyone has a question on the index card, we'll have someone to pick it up. We have one here. And this question is, why does a police officer come to a conclusion that a person is reaching for a gun? They could have their license in their glove compartment. Sergeant Reed.
Okay. It's not really a conclusion. It's a safety issue. I kind of touched on that some, I have kids at home too, and I want to go home. So if I'm walking up to a vehicle, and somebody all of a sudden they're sitting in the vehicle, and they're grabbing under the seat before I reach the vehicle. Now there's 100 different scenarios, guys. So I'm not trying to muddy the waters. Now, what if it is? What if it is a gun? Now I don't, I'm standing there, I don't put my hand on my gun. I may not go home. Now it's going to be different if I walk up to the car and I say, hey sir, how you doing? I'm Sergeant Rader, may I see your license please? And I sometimes do say, if it's at nighttime, well, is it in your glove box or is it in your wallet? I do ask that. There's a reason. Well sir, it's in my glove box. Okay sir, just slowly reach over to the glove box, and I guess what I'm going to do, guys? I take my light out and I put it right in that glove box. He may tell me there's a license in there. What if it's not? What if it's a handgun? What if he's wanted? What if he's, there's so many what ifs that I rather err on the side of caution. Now, again, I'm not up here to try to paint this broad brush that police don't do it. They do it right every single time, right? No, we know that's not true. We know there's been bad shooting. We know that. But most of the time, that's not the case. And if I walk up to a car, and Officer Rose hit on this earlier tonight, to a reasonable person. So if I walk up to a car on a traffic stop because you ran through a red light, and immediately that guy dives down underneath the seat, I don't want to take the chance that that's a gun or a knife or something's going to hurt me. All right? Does that kind of fill in the blanks a little bit? I never conclude because I don't know what's under that seat. Could it be that he's reaching for his license? Absolutely, it could be. And if that's the case, I may take my hand off my gun, or if I pulled it out and put it here, I may reholster it because it's a license. But sometimes we don't, as you saw in the video. Now listen, that's a bad video, but why I had Officer Rose talk about that video is it doesn't happen that way a million times, okay? But all it takes is once. And that's what happened to that guy. That guy that night, I guarantee you, went up to that car thinking, he's speeding, what's the big deal? I've done thousands. But in that case, it didn't happen that way. And he got hurt.
Okay, how about this one could be a belief or perception, and that is, why does police officers shoot kids?
Okay. We don't shoot to kill, we shoot to stop the threat. So if that means it's one bullet or 7, it's to stop the threat. It's not, I was never taught to shoot to kill. I was never taught that in the police academy, nor is that our policy here at the police department. But I can tell you, and again, here's just a huge, that's why we're here tonight to talk about this educational piece, okay? I don't know how, and I'm not teasing, but I don't know how many times, even from my family members, and I'm like, wow, I'm a policeman, and this is what my family's asking me at the Thanksgiving dinner. Well, why didn't you just, the guy had a knife and he was running after you, why didn't you take the gun out like Clint Eastwood, rip off a couple rounds, and shoot the gun out of his hand? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it. Sometimes, we shoot at stationary targets. I was just out the range. I shoot at a stationary target from 7 yards to 15 to 25. And I'm going to tell you, 25 yards, I'm still good. I shoot in the 90s, but it's like, wow, you know, it's a handgun. The barrel's this big. I'm not shooting a rifle. And it's stationary. It's not moving. It's not coming at you with a gun or a knife. So there's no way that I can, well, I'm going to, you know, another question, why didn't you shoot him in the leg? Well, he's running, you know, he's running at me, whatever. So I say this to be a little funny, but no, we do not. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not shoot. I do not want to kill anyone. No police officer goes to work, and then, God forbid, he has to take somebody's life and goes home and says, well, that's great. I don't want to do that. But if I have to use deadly force to go home, and it was warranted, I am not shooting to kill. I am shooting to stop that man or woman from the threat that I see. So if I shoot 4 rounds and the gun's dropped and it's out of his hand and he's on the ground, and I can't go up and put 4 more. No, we don't do that. But it's to stop the threat, not to kill.
Okay, let's see here. In regards to tasing, why did you tase someone?
Well, we just had a change in the courts.
Can you repeat the question, please? In regards to tasing, why would you tase someone who is running away?
Every circumstance is different. The law just changed to where a few years ago, if somebody came out of Walmart and it was, let's say they stole something, and I knew that, you know, asset protection said, hey, you know, a male wearing ABCD just stole $300 from Walmart, and there he goes, and he's running. Stop, police, I can tase. Now some of that's changed to where a mentally ill individual was basically hugging a telephone pole. Forgive me, I can't remember what state it was in, but he was hugging the telephone pole, and the police could not break him free to get him under arrest. Okay, so it's like an ECO, emergency custody order. That's what we call it here in Virginia. So that individual was tased. All right. That case went all the way up top, and now the law has changed where we cannot do that. I don't have we have actually like a continuum that we go by. We just had the training at the range. It's a great question. I wish I could have the handouts to hand it to you, but it's more of it's like you have passive, which is me speaking to you, and then you have, you know, it goes all the way to aggressor, which means physically, actively resisting arrest or fighting, where you can use the taser. But if I come up, and I'm just going to give a scenario, and I'm like, hey, you're under arrest. You guys just saw the scenario here tonight. Hey, I have a warrant. I'm going to check the status. You're under arrest. And that guy pulls away and then shoves the officer. That's when a taser can be deployed. In a situation where I have a warrant for you, and I'll give you the other side of it, and I'm like, hey, sir, I'm Sergeant Rader, I got a warrant for you, you're under arrest. And the guy just says this. But you can see his hands. He's just walking backwards. Cannot get tased. Cannot get tased. And I think that's something we can write down here. If we do this again, I can actually do some training on that. That's a really good question.
All right. Now we have, just to take this one last one. There was one in regards to what are your rights if you pulled over by the police. We do have a handout on that. What are your rights? So if anyone needs this additional handout, we'll get it to you. It's called this part, what to do if you are pulled over by the police, and it explains everything on there. And then the last question we'll take here is, and I believe this is what we're going to do in the demonstration, we'll quickly go over this already. Why did the cop not explain why not signing the summons could result in being arrested? He did.
In Virginia, again, we go state to state. Up in New York, we call it a summary offense, and I just want to kind of give the differences of state to state, different laws. And as an officer up there, they didn't want to sign a ticket. They didn't have to sign a ticket. And it would just kind of look bad on them in court if they kind of gave the cop a hard time and didn't sign a ticket. In Virginia, it's basically you're promising the court that you're going to appear. So like Officer Hughes was doing in the scenario, if you don't sign a ticket, yes, I would love, it's called a term verbal judo. I don't know if you ever heard that, but we're training that. Not just instantly grab somebody, for a traffic ticket and pull them out of the vehicle, to just explain why. And the officer did. He said, hey, if you have to promise to come to court. You're not going to come to court. I'm going to have to take you down to the magistrate, and then she's going to give you a bond or do a bond hearing. So there has been a couple cases throughout my career that I think twice where somebody didn't sign the ticket. And I'll tell you, just from my perspective, I would much rather have somebody sign a ticket than have to get them and put them in handcuffs and take them down to the magistrate for a speeding ticket. I really don't want to do that. But if it's a last resort, that's what we're going to do. It's the law. It's in the Code of Virginia. Yes, it's just a speeding ticket, but just sign it, and like Officer Rose explained on the PowerPoint, come to court. And you'll have your day to explain to the judge why you were speeding or why you didn't think you were. But on the roadside is not where we want to be. That puts both of us in a bad position.
All right, that is going to conclude our program for tonight, and I'd just like to ask a couple of questions. How many of you found this informative? Very good. How many of you found it educational? How many of you think we should do it again?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. That's what we were hoping, is that you leave here informed, educated, and please, by all means, tell other people that this is something worth attending, that you did learn something that is helpful and you can find it helpful, and then we'll plan it again and spread the word that it's worth coming to, and we appreciate all of you for coming out tonight. So have a wonderful evening and just be safe getting home. Thank you.
Real fast, I'm telling you, lightning speed, because we're going to know. I just want to let everybody know this is. I love it, the educational piece to it. And Gerald and Pastor Cam, you can see we're friends, and that's what it's going to build a community. That's what helps all this mess that's going on, is knowing and having a relationship with somebody. And it's huge. It really helps us out, and it goes both ways, that trust, I know, but it can start here, and we can build on that. So thank you so much for coming out, and I really appreciate it.